Third time's the charm. What's up guys, Andrew here on my channel GearedInc, where I get to share what I'm passionate about with you. To my channel, that's PC tech, games, and gear. And today, after much requesting, I am water cooling my Evga Black 28 Ti with a hybrid cooler. Now this is technically water cooling it, even though we're using an all-in-one solution. And obviously doing custom water cooling, you would be able to get the temperatures even lower, but I feel like for what my purpose is, especially because I already have an AIO on my CPU, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a custom water loop in this system, especially as I plan on building another one in the upcoming months. So as far as you guys have been following me on this GPU journey, you know how disappointed I have been with the thermal performance of this RTX 2080 Ti. Basically, this thing runs at 84 degrees Celsius after gaming on it for a little while. Part of that's due to my case airflow, but a lot of it's to where I believe I just got a bad GPU skew, because I know that there are a lot of other 2080 Ti Evga Blacks that run cooler, and so it's debatable whether or not this is an isolated case or it's a more general problem with the architecture of Turing and this GPU and specifically. Now that being said, this is going to be very interesting to see as far as how much temperatures drop, because as far as overall performance, this is one of the least overclockable GPUs in the 2080 Ti SKU, with worse power restrictions than a lot of the other ones that are available out there. So it's debatable whether or not this is worth it, but if this is a strategy you want to employ, you can pick this up for $999, or you should be able to. Prices have actually started to creep up on these GPUs even more, but if you can get it for $999 and buy this cooler for about $160, $170, you can technically get a water-cooled 2080 Ti for much cheaper, to the tune of $300 or $400, depending on which version you buy, than going out and buying the hybrid basically version just out of the box. So in that respect, you could save some money if this is something that you're wanting to do. So we're going to put this together, but as always, there are a couple tools we're going to need. To start off with, you are going to need an all-purpose screwdriver and a specialty screwdriver for the GPU screws on the back of the GPU backplate itself. We're also going to need some thermal paste, so we're going to stick with our IC Diamond. If you watched my video where we cooled down this GPU, it was only using the thermal paste that I was able to get it to basically cool off about 5 to 6 degrees, which allowed me to get some overclocking out of it. So we're going to stick with this, as it was better than basically the stock thermal paste that I've been using. And then we're also going to need some thermal remover, not necessarily a need, but something I definitely want to have. This will purify the surface and allow us to apply some new thermal paste for a little bit of better cooling action. And then of course some paper towels to wipe the thermal paste off and make sure that our GPU plate is nice and clean. So without further ado, let's put this thing together. All right, guys, so as you can tell from my wardrobe change, the video took longer than I essentially to get through it, but basically it was a success. Now, there are a couple of things that you guys should know. Firstly, in terms of the orientation that this should be sitting in your case, I originally had it tubes up, but I found out after posting this on Reddit that basically EVGA recommends you having the tubes on the bottom in the back because that's essentially a better water flow, or it's just a recommended position. Now, originally I didn't think that was going to matter much, and let me show you kind of what my thermal test shows. So, first off, overall temps were reduced greatly. After putting the system under a heaven bench load for about 30 minutes, we capped out at about 65 degrees Celsius with everything the same from the previous test without the AIO. Now, obviously that's still toasty, but I blame that on Turing's architecture more than any other factor, and that's with the 50% fan curve. Now, flipping the orientation of the radiator to basically have the tubes on the bottom means that we didn't get any net benefit initially, even though the fan curve was lower. But when I bumped it up to 50%, just like it was running with the top end orientation, then all of a sudden I did lose a few degrees. So it's not a huge significant difference, but it does prove the point that if you want this to function the best it can, make sure that your tubes on the radiator on the bottom, not the top. Now, in addition to that, in terms of just kind of the overall sound of this, I'm not able to do an accurate sound test simply because in the case right now, I've got my CPU fans and the pump for my CPU kind of overriding the sound of the GPU. The fan on this AIO is actually fairly quiet. Even up to 50%, it's not loud. But the pump is. So the pump is a little bit louder than a lot of AIOs I've worked with in the past. Now that is not to say that it's by any means screeching or anything like that. But if you're someone who's sensitive to noise and you have a very silent system as it is right now, you will definitely notice that pump when it is working, even though for me, because I usually use earbuds, and even if not, I have my sound up so loud if I'm just using my speakers, I don't really notice. And overall, guys, you'll notice from these performance charts that basically we're able to stay at a higher clock for longer consistently because our temps are never breaking above that 65 degrees Celsius mark, which means we're able to take full advantage of the overclocking without running at a ridiculously high temp. It could be argued that this really isn't worth it if you have a 2080 Ti EVGA Black that you're able to get better cooling on with just a better airflow case. Like, this may not even be a necessary step for a lot of you, but if you are looking to basically do this on your own system, now you know that it will definitely help you with thermal issues that you may have with your GPU, just like I've had, and you may be able to overclock a little bit better. Ultimately, for me, it was a success, as I said, because pairing this, the EVGA 2080 Ti Black version with like the AIO is actually cheaper than if you went out and bought just a hybrid all-in-one altogether. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can go ahead and leave me a big thumbs up. If not, go ahead and leave me a thumbs down. Remember to get subscribed and hit that bell icon. If you're wondering why my wallpaper is different, basically for my Patreon and Twitch subscribers, I've redone the tiers of like how I do rewards. So there's a bunch of cool stuff in there, everything from vinyl stickers, monthly wallpapers, and custom GPU backplates. And so that's what you're seeing on the back of the screen, and you can check out my Patreon if you want to support me directly. On top of that, thanks to everyone who uses my Amazon affiliate link when buying any of these parts, where there will be everything you saw in this video listed that is on Amazon, and you can support me directly there as well. As always, guys, I'm going to continue to make these videos whether you watch them or not, but I hope you do, and I hope to see every single one of you next time here on GearedInc. No. You can get a 20.